Let's make a super fun explosion mini booklet like this. This is my design team project for the Digital Collage Club. Welcome, it's Barbara from Vienna, Austria. So in this first of 2 episodes, I will show you the construction of the booklet and we will create some interactive page decoration. So this whole thing folds out like crazy. So I will be using images from the Digital Collage Club, which is a membership-based website with thousands of royalty-free digital craft supplies. Once you sign up, either for a year or a lifetime membership, you will get instant access. All images are created exclusively for this club. You get new images each week and you're able to sell the craft items you created with these images. So as I mentioned, there are 2 options available: a membership for 1 year or a lifetime, which means you pay once and have access to all the images and tutorials for your whole life. You can find discount codes for both types of memberships linked below in the description box. I would like to point out that I do receive a commission if you use these links, so it's also a huge help for my small creative business. As always, thank you in advance if you sign up or if you have joined in the past using my link. Please note that in order to use my codes for the discount, you need to use the link below, otherwise it will not work. So for the base, I'm going to use 3 pieces of cardstock. This is regular 12 by 12 paper. This is quite thick. I'm using one that I got from Action. It's called Essential Textures. And I chose this one because it has a lot of similar designs. And this one is very heavy cardstock. It's 250 GSM. I would suggest to use one that's a little bit thinner actually to make the folding easier. And I also don't see why you couldn't do this with regular paper as well. I have cut 4 squares. They are 21.5 centimeters by 21.5 centimeters each. I will write all of the measurements that I'm using for the papers in centimeters and in inches down below in the description box for you in case you want to follow along. So I have 3 of these and I wanted them to match. So whatever papers or cardstock you use, you might want to make sure that they match unless you plan on painting over them anyway, then obviously it doesn't matter. These are going to be my back sides. These are my fronts. We're going to start off by folding. Super easy folding. We're going to make 4 folds and each of the folds just halves the paper. So once like this, and 2 times diagonally. So once I'll go up, and I'm doing this as precisely as I can. And I want to be gentle with folding such a thick paper. I don't want it to tear. So I'm first gently pushing it down. And then I am gently going to go over it with my bone folder to make sure that I have a nice crease. Then I'm going to open it, turn it around and half it again in the other direction. I think it's always easiest pushing down in the middle first and then slowly going out to the edges of the paper. You could also score your cardstock first. I find that's too much of a hassle. So now we have this. And now we do the same thing in the diagonal. And do it the other direction. Okay, now we have this here. And I'm going to do that for the other 2 in exactly the same way. I have them all folded up and I want the grungy look, so I'm going to first roughen up the edges with this little, I don't even know what this is called. It's by Tim Holtz. You could get a very similar effect just by using your scissors and then just going around the edge. Like this. This is actually the same thing that this thing does. I don't really see a difference. And once I have all my edges roughed up, I will go around them with vintage photo and my flat brush. Obviously, you can also use a sponge like this. It just gives you a slightly different effect. This one obviously will give you a softer effect. And I will also go over all of the creases with the vintage photo. Totally optional. So now I have this, and the way I'm going to assemble it later on, but I need to know this now already, is to glue them together like this. Meaning that this square and this square don't need any decorations because they will be covered up. But everything else I want to decorate, and I want to do that now because I think it's more manageable when they are smaller pieces, and also more importantly because I want to add some stitching, which will be a lot easier when I have these smaller pieces. I printed 5 pages of the Alchemy journal set, and I specifically chose ones that would be great as backgrounds for these. So I was looking for pieces that had like script and nice background paper. And these are printed on regular copy paper. So the measurement for the inside of the square is going to be 10 centimeters. Again, you can find the measurements both in centimeters and inches down in the description box for you. So I need 10 squares with 10 centimeters to cover all of these. So I'm going to tear the pieces with my tearing ruler. I get asked about this a lot. This is from Joy Crafts, but as far as I'm aware, it's not available anywhere. It hasn't been available for, I think, at least a year, if not longer. You can try to find clear ones from We Are Memory Keepers, and I'm sure there's other companies that have clear ones. I do think this is the best. I have a clear one as well, but the smaller edge here for me is just perfect. The only thing I don't love about this ruler is that it's not see-through. So sometimes it's hard to tell if you are, if you want to tear at a certain place and you don't see what's underneath. But I'm really super happy with this. So maybe you can find it on eBay. I don't know. If you have one, then you're very lucky. So I'm going to go ahead and fill all of my squares with background papers to start off with. So I have my 10 squares ready to go. I also inked up all the edges with my vintage photo distress oxide. And now I want to see how I can arrange these. So you can decide which way you want to have them facing. I think I want to switch these. So here, for example, I have one text going this way and one going this way. Here they're going in the same direction, but that's okay because they do look so differently. This is not working. There's 2 very dominant ones here. I think one should go over there. Maybe this one, the serpent. I think it's a serpent. I don't know. Or do we want the serpent here? Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and glue all of these down. I'm going to do this with my Collage glue, which I have here in my 3-in-1 bottle. I'll mention it again just in case you haven't heard this yet. So if you are in Europe, the Collage glue, spelled Collall, is the same thing as the beacon. Same ingredients, same texture, same smell, same everything. easier to find and cheaper. So that's what I use. You could also use double-sided tape. You could use glue stick. I would not recommend tacky glue just because it will make your paper wavy. And I'm only going to apply glue on my 4 edges. There's no need to add glue in the middle. Once the glue has dried, I'm going to take this to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew around every square here. And I'm also going to sew around this one here, even though we won't see it from the top. But when we turn it around, I think it would look strange if these two then don't have the stitching. Obviously, if you're going to cover the back sides with paper, then it doesn't matter, but I think I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it as it is, so I want them all to show the stitching in the back. I decided to go with a chocolate brown thread. I went around each of the squares with a very small running stitch, and I also added some messy zigzag stitching on all of the 4 sides. I think that just adds so much character. But if you don't have a sewing machine or if you don't like to sew, you can also do a faux stitch with a marker, or you could even try some hand stitching, even if you don't want to go all around these because that's going to take forever, but just do some stitching on the side in various places. That would be really cute as well. So these will go together then like this. So now we can glue these together. I'm going to do this with double-sided tape, but you can definitely also do it with glue. I have done that as well. This is just easier because I don't need to wait for it to dry. I probably would not do this with a glue stick. I don't think that will hold well enough. And same thing for the other side. Be sure to move your threads if you like them long like I do. Okay, we have one piece. So now we can fold it. And the first time we fold it now, it's going to need a little bit of help. So these two and these two fold towards us, and these two fold away from us. So when we close this now, so this will need a little bit of help the first time. It'll get easier then later. These need to fold in like this, and then this flattens out like that. And then we just take our bone folder to reinforce those creases. And we do the same thing on the other side. So these go in, and this just comes down. And then these fold away from us, like this. And this goes in like that. So then we have this square. And the more we open and close it, the easier it's going to get. So we have our outer corners facing towards us. And then we just take it apart like this. And then we can fold it up again. Like that. Isn't that so cool? I'm so in love with this. Okay, let's continue decorating. I printed some more of these pages. Some are the same, and I printed them 4 pages per sheet. So I printed them this small because I wanted some of these images in small to fit on our little squares. So now I'm going to cut or tear out some of these so that we can collage them onto our pages. I definitely want all these words like the spells, the apothecary, protection, zodiac. So I'll start off by cutting all of those out. Alchemy, secrets, Mother Nature. So I've inked them up as well, also with my vintage photo. And then I'm also going to cut out images here. For example, the flower, this poppy, etc. so that we can play with those as well. So everything is cut out and inked up. That took a moment. And now I'm going to play with these elements and see how I can collage them onto these squares. But I decided before I'm going to add some of the images, I want to add a little bit more interest to the background. And I'm going to use my current favorite stencil again, which is actually a mask. Again, this is Studio Light. It's a grunge mask. This is what it looks like. And the number is SLGR Mask 16. And I'm going to apply it with frayed burlap and one of these makeup sponges. I'm going to trim down these long threads here in the middle. I think I just want them long on the outside. So I want to be mindful which parts fold and which parts don't fold. So these top 3 and these bottom 3 need to fold, whereas these 4 in the middle don't need to fold. So that helps me in my decision making of what to put where. This also means that we could even add pockets or tuck spots on these 4 squares. So I can take one of these pieces that I have left over from folding these, and for example, I could make a triangular tuck spot here by tearing this off. I will ink up the edges with Vintage Photo again. And to blend in, I'm also going to add some braid burlap with my stencil again. Then I also took this to my sewing machine and did the same kind of stitching that I've done around the edges. And now I can just glue that on. Then I can add this protection with some dyed cheesecloth underneath onto the tuck spot. Then I could use this here to make a tag. So I will tear around this. Then I'm going to add a bit of matte gel and some of that same cheesecloth. And this flower, and I'll go over the whole thing. Once that is dry, I'm going to cut off the 2 top corners. Going to ink it up. Since there's a hole here in the design, I'm going to make a hole for an eyelet. Choosing a gold one. Then I want to stamp a number here. This is one from the Field Notes, Stampers Anonymous. The number is CMS 396. I'm stamping it in black archival ink. Probably shouldn't put that over the flower. I'll actually just stamp it here. And then I can just glue that onto that. Then I'm going to take this stamp here, which is also from the Field Notes stamp set. And I'm going to stamp that on just a scrap. And then I'll just cut one of these out. Too close together to tear around, unfortunately. Then I will glue this on this mini tag. So I have a die cut which has these mini tags. It might be a Tim Holtz one. And I back this with cardstock as well. And I want to have that dangling from here. So I'm going to attach that with a piece of twine. Just tying a bow around it. So that can now go in here. And it fits beautifully, especially because we cut these two edges off. And then I also want to make like a tiny little booklet. I want to add this hand with the eye on top. So I'll just tear that as well. So I'm going to ink around this as well. Then we can glue this hand on. And on the inside we can add more of this writing. I'm going to cut around a piece here. So it's a proper little book now with writing inside. And I'm going to attach this to the tuck spot with this tiny paper clip. Then on this square, we could also make a tuck spot, but this way. So I'm again going to tear a rectangle, and I want it to be able to fit this flower. So I'll ink this up as well. And also add some of the stenciling. And I took this to my sewing machine again and did the same kind of stitching. Now I can glue this down. So then I want to add this flower, and I'm going to add postage stamps because they have a similar color to the flower. And then maybe we could also add this moon like that. Okay, I glued everything down. And now we can make a little tag. So I'll make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to round the corners with my small corner rounder. Ink around it. Then I have another one of these tiny labels, and I'm going to stamp this number on there. This is also from the Field Notes stamp set. And then I backed this little glass bottle, and I want to tie this around the neck. Just with a double knot. Now we can cut these short. I actually like this backside better from this tag. So we can put this on here. And I also found this vintage label for a lotion. So I think that is perfect for this theme. We could add that in the back, maybe tear it up a little bit. And maybe also a bit of washi tape. And that can go in here. In part 2, we're going to finish decorating all of these squares, and then we're going to attach a cover and a closure. So I hope to see you back here next week. Love you guys. Mwah! Mwah!